Hey, sports cards fans, Ray from Philly here on this Saturday, January 30th, 2021. And today is Sports Card Talk episode number 17. And today we're going to have a really special topic. We're going to be talking about the 2021 MLB Baseball Hall of Fame wrap-up. The vote ended a few days ago on Tuesday, January 26th. We're going to go through some of the players and their final results of how it ended. But first, I'm going to introduce my co-host. This is Mike, This Baseball Card Life. Mike, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Ray. Great to be back with you again.
Yeah, well, this is a fun topic. It's an interesting topic this year. Never thought there would be drama with the Hall of Fame vote this year, but there certainly was. And we'll get into that, eventually. But we're going to go through the players list and show their rookie cards and show how they did. If some of these guys were on the vote last year, we have what their tally was last year and how they did this year. And there's quite a few first ballot guys this year that are still on and are doing, pretty well. So it's going to be fun. This is a really cool topic I always like to talk about, is the Hall of Fame. So I'm ready when you are, Mike, whenever you want to get into it.
All right. We're doing all 25 of the players that are on the current ballot, and we're just going to go in order of the highest percentage all the way down to 0%.
Right.
So the gentleman with the highest percentage is Mr. Kurt Schilling, and that was his ninth year on the ballot. He got 285 votes of the total 401, which the percentage is just like 71.1% as it shows. And here's his only rookie card.
Right, and they need 75% to get in. So last year, I think he was at 70. He went up a tick, 1%.
Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, I think him tweeting, these last few years really has kept him out of the Hall of Fame this year.
Yeah, we'll get into that eventually in this episode. We'll talk about Mr. Schilling. Yeah, there's like I said, there was drama around him this year, and it's a shame, but great pitcher, deserves to be in.
All right, next up is, if I click on it right, is Mr. Barry Bonds. So his ninth year on the ballot, just like Schilling, got 248 votes, so that's 61.8%.
Yeah, I think now it's going to be really, really tough. Going from 61.8 to 75% in 1 year is a tremendous jump. And I think he needed to get to at least in the high 60s or 70 this year. I think with that low number of 61.8, that pretty much, and I hate to say this because I'm a big fan of his, I think this pretty much solidifies that he's not going to get in. And from what I've been hearing, even the peers on the Veterans Committee are really not going to do it neither. So it's a tragedy right now. I think you could be seeing the next year the last time Bonds ever on a ballot, and hopefully not. Maybe the Veterans Committee will have a different opinion on the situation. Yeah.
Didn't Larry Walker have a huge jump?
Yeah. Larry Walker got in on his 10th and final year. He actually, he started in the beginning going up a little bit, and then 1 year he took a dramatic drop. People thought that's it, he's done. And then he just, it's a process to get in the Hall of Fame. That 10 years, it's pretty much a process of building your name and building your brand. And he started creeping up a little bit, and then they called a 10th year, final year push, and he got it that year. And he literally got 76% on the 10th and final year. But there was a time where he actually went down. So anything can happen. There's guys that have gone down and crept back up. Edgar Martinez was another one.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll move on to the next guy, and that's Mr. Roger Clemens. Here's his 84 Fleer update. So he had 247 votes, which was 61.6%.
Yeah, it's another one that he's in the same predicament as Barry Bonds. So we'll see next year if these guys can make, but like I said, that's a really, really big jump to go from 61 to 75 in 1 year. I'm hoping that the Veterans Committee is more forgiving to these guys.
All right. A Philly that you love, Mr. Scott Rowland. He's in his fourth year. He's at 52.9% with 212 votes.
He's doing really well. He had the biggest jump increase from last year to this year, which was a 17% increase. He went from 35% to 52.9, and he's just rolling right along. He's at this pace, it could be maybe 2 more years at this pace. I mean, he's jumping big time each year. So we'll see.
Yeah, I don't think he's involved with the steroids and the scandals, so
right.
I think he's got a good shot too.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Marvin Skell, I was just thinking of scandals. Like he just had some off the field issues for sure. If you want, you can just
it's a shame because he was moving up each year. This is his 4th year. In the first 3 years, he moved up every year, but then he had a scandal come out in December, and lo and behold, he's now dropped a little bit. So I'm interested into seeing what the future is in store for Omar.
Yep, 49.1% with 197 votes. And we'll see if these allegations are true.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe they're not. And that would definitely help him get into the Hall of Fame. So,
yeah.
All right. Next on the list is Mr. Billy Wagner. This is the 6th year. The 6th year on the ballot, 46.4%, 186 votes. You know, a crazy amount of saves up there with Lee Smith. And, well, Mariano has more, but definitely a great pitcher.
Yeah, he moved up from last year, too. I think he was in the low 40s or high 30s last year, but he's moved up as well. He's making some improvements each year. He still has 4 more years to go. I think it's going to be really, really close. I'm going to say he's probably going to be a guy that will not get in on the voters, but will probably definitely get in on the Veterans Committee. But he is moving up, you know, each year. So he's got to get into next year. I'd like to see him get close to 60%, at least 57, somewhere around there. 10% a year is what he's going to need for the next 4 years.
Yep. Okay. Next is Todd Helton. He's in his 3rd year at 44.9%, 180 votes.
Yeah.
So
he's doing really well. Yeah, he's doing really well.
Yeah, he played with Colorado Rockies. I was just listening to a Dr. James Beckett podcast about him, and a super collector of Todd Helton was on and just sharing how, you know, he thinks he should be in the Hall of Fame, and how him being on the Rockies shouldn't really hurt him too much. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, good player, good hitter. They're saying that the playing in Colorado is actually the opposite of what people think, because the air is so thin up there that it takes a really hard strain on your body. Granted, the players that play there might get used to it in time, but it's not easy to play out there. So
yeah, and they have to play home and away all the time.
Right.
So, you know, you have a air one time, and you got a curveball doing this once, and then you go to, I don't know, New York, and it spins. It doesn't do what it would do in Colorado. So
yeah, I don't put no emphasis on him playing in Colorado.
So that's good. All right, next up is Gary Sheffield. Seems like he played for every team in the major leagues along his career. Played a long, long time. So he's at 40.6% with 163 votes.
Yeah, he moved up, I think, too, from last year.
Yep, he did.
I think he was in the 30s last year, if I'm not mistaken. And he's moving up, you know, every year as well. And I think he's going to get in before his 10th year. There's really no major problems against him. There was this one thing where he was working out with Bonds or something like that, but he's never had a positive test. And if you look at his body, he's not really a big guy. He just had tremendous bat speed and hit the ball really hard. I don't think there's really any major negativity towards Gary Sheffield. I haven't heard anything bad with him. So I think he's got a pretty darn good shot in these left, but he's got to make some bigger improvements. Like he definitely next year, he's got to get, you know, another 15% in my opinion. And then he's got 2 years left to jump to that 75. It's going to be tough, but he's going to make it interesting. Again, he's another guy that if he doesn't get in on the ballot, he'll get in on the Veterans Committee.
Our next is Andrew Jones. He got 33.9% and 136 votes, and his 95 Bowman's Best is his one of his better rookie cards.
Yeah, great defensive player. I just don't think he did enough offensively. He didn't. I think he's just coming up short, below 2,000 hits. I think he does have a lot of homers, but I think it's just not long enough. I'm surprised he's doing as well as he is, but we'll see where he's going to be. I think he'll come up short. I don't think he'll get in, but he's hanging in there, and that's a beautiful card too. I love 95 Bowman's Best.
Yeah, that one's great, and along with his 95 regular Bowman is a pretty cool
that's another one too.
Yep. All right, next is Mr. Jeff Kent. 32.4%, 130 votes out of the 401. So this one's out of the update set, which also has the Mike Piazza card. And weren't you saying that he has like the most home runs as a second baseman?
Yep. He's the all-time home run leader for second baseman. Jeff Kent is the current Fred McGriff when McGriff was on the ballot. Just never got above 50%, hung on for the entire 10 years. And Fred McGriff next year will be his first year on the Veterans Committee. And I guarantee McGriff will get in. I do not understand why Jeff Kent is not getting – he should be well into his 60s percentile right now. There was I think Mad Dog Russo on MLB Network was saying his numbers are better than Scott Rowland, and Rowland keeps growing every year, and he's only on the 4th year, and Jeff Kent just goes up a little bit each year. I mean, Rowland won a Rookie of the Year. Jeff Kent won an actual MVP, and his offensive numbers, I mean, everyone's looking at him defensively. He was not a great fielding second baseman, but, who cares? Offensively, this guy was the best hitting second baseman. Like Piazza was the best hitting catcher of all time. Wasn't a great defensive catcher. Jeff Kent is like the Piazza of second baseman. So, he's not going to get in on the voters ballot. I mean, 32.4% is a huge jump to go to 75 in just 2 years. But this guy's like the Fred McGriff. He gets no respect whatsoever.
All right, so you think he's a veterans guy like McGriff?
Yeah, I think he's definitely like McGriff.
Okay. All right, next is Manny Ramirez. This is his 5th year on the ballot, got 113 votes at 28.2%.
Yeah, I don't think this guy, I mean, he's only got 5 years left on there, and 28.2% is just not enough. Another, tragedy story right here. I just don't think he's going to get in.
Yeah, he got busted, like 8 times?
Too many.
PEDs, and it's a shame because what he did in Boston and just the type of hitter he was is incredible. Like Hall of Fame talent, and just his numbers should get him in. But
I don't even think the veterans is going to get him in.
No. All right. Well, what about this guy, Sami Sosa? This is his 9th year on the ballot, like what Clemens, Bonds, and Schilling. He got 68% at 68 votes, and that was a percentage of 17.
Yeah, I'm surprised that McGuire is not still on it, but Sosa still is. Kudos to Sosa for hanging on for 9 years. But I mean, let's get real. He's got no shot. He's got no shot.
600 and some home runs. And
that's amazing. 600 homers. It's just, nah.
He's like isn't he like the only guy that has 60 home runs in like more than 3 seasons? It's crazy.
Yeah. And people forget about that. He did it more than once, more than that 1 year in 98.
Yeah. I can just close my eyes and see him hit a home run, and just his steps after he hits it, and then run into the outfield, to right field at Wrigley, entertainer, really helped, with baseball in 98.
Yeah, definitely. Fun guy. He had a nice, pleasant, fun attitude, personality. Was good for the game as far as his personality was, but, I'm kind of surprised he's still on.
Yeah. All right, next up is Andy Pettit. This is his 3rd year on the ballot with 13.7%, and he got 55 votes.
Yeah, I don't know what to think about Andy Pettit. He does have an allegation with him as well. Um, I don't think he'll get in on the voters committee. I think he will hang around the whole 10 years and just flourish around 20, 30%, by the time he's at the end. But, and I'm not sure if he'll get in on the veterans committee too. He's got great numbers. He's got like 240 wins.
Okay.
So we'll see.
Well, it helps that he was, a Yankee.
Definitely.
And a lot of these voters liked him. Yeah. Great player. I don't know about Hall of Fame pitcher, though.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. Yeah.
All right. Another pitcher, Mark Burrell. And this is his first year on the ballot. Got 11% for 44 votes. And I had to look up a little bit about him since, it's been a while.
Mm-hmm.
So he won, 214 games, won a World Series with the White Sox in 2005, was a 5-time All-Star and 4-time Gold Glove winner.
Yeah. I tell you what, I was surprised at Burley's numbers, 214 wins, and to be on the first year and get 11% is actually really good for a guy that no one was even expecting to get 5%. History has shown when guys that started off like Rowland started off like this his first year. I think he had 12, then he went to 17, then he went to 35, and now 52. So I'm going to definitely be taking a much more serious look at Mark Burley. I mean, his win-loss record is good, not just the amount of wins, but he doesn't have a lot of losses. Like, this guy was a winner.
Yeah. Okay. All right. The next guy is Torrey Hunter. He got 38 votes, which is at 9.5%. His first year on the ballot. Incredible defensive center fielder with those, jumping off the wall to at the All-Star game for Barry Bonds or something like that. He had a lot of highlights on Sports Center.
Yeah. What was his nickname? Spider-Man or something like that, I think they called him. I'm not sure, but
yeah.
I'm glad he's still on, because towards the end of the day, he was below 5%. So I'm really, really glad to see Torrey Hunter on. I knew before this year his numbers were better than I thought. So kudos to him. So I think he'll hang around. I think it's a process. So it's real close with Torrey Hunter, but really good player. Really good.
Yeah, I saw an interview with him with the MLB.
Yeah, me too.
And he seems like such a cool guy. He's a great interview.
Yeah.
He could definitely be like on like MLB Tonight or something.
Yeah, great guy. Yeah, real good sparkling personality.
Yeah. All right, next up is Bob Abreu. So he's second year on the ballot, got 35 votes at 8.7%.
Yeah, he went up a little bit. Last year he was at 5, and this year he's at 8. I would have liked to seen him get like 12 to 15 this year, but he's still on, and he still went up. This is going to be a real slow process for Bobby. He's got to make some improvements. There's got to be some, like, next year he's got to get like 20, in my opinion, to make a serious push. But I'm not 100% sold that he's going to get in. So, and I'm not really sure yet. I want to see where the next couple of years, what his vote is. But I saw him play his whole career. He's a really good player. Excellent.
Yeah. Next, Tim Hudson, first year on the ballot, 21 votes at 5.2%. So just squeaked in to stay on the ballot.
Yeah, really squeaked in. He kind of like Mark Burley. He had a lot of good years. He was like a consistent 16-game type winner, really good pitcher with Atlanta for quite a few years. So I don't think he'll get in either with the voters or the veterans. I think he'll hang around and get somewhere. At the best, he'll peak maybe at 30%. Okay.
So great pitcher, just not a Hall of Famer.
Not really, no.
Okay. All right. Next up is Marvin Ramirez, who you like a lot. So let's see, he got 4 votes, and which is 1% of the total ballot. So he's off future ballots because you need at least 5%. So what do you know about Aramis?
Really good player. He's one of 4 third basemen in the history of the game that has 2,300 hits and over I think 390 or 400 homers. And believe it or not, Mike Schmidt and George Brett are not one of those 4. Neither is Brooks Robinson. I think it was Chipper Jones, Eddie Matthews, Aramis Ramirez, and Adrian Beltre were the only 4 third basemen in the history of the game to have over 2,300 hits and 400 homers or 390 homers, something like that. So he was an all-around great hitter. I'm really surprised they didn't get at least 5%. But I've seen guys get booted off in just 1 year and make it on the Veterans Committee. Ted Simmons, for one.
Mm-hmm. So, all right. Next up is Letroy Hawkins. First year on the ballot, got 2 votes, 0.5%. So he's off the ballot for future.
Not much to talk about him.
Yeah, he was a pitcher, no all-star games. So this is as 1994 Bowman's best card.
Thanks for being on.
Yeah. Goodbye, right? All right. Next is Barry Zito. First year on the ballot, got 1 vote, 0.2%. So he's off the ballot.
Yeah.
2012 World Series with the Giants. He did get a Cy Young in 2002.
Yeah.
3-time All-Star, 165 wins in 15 seasons. So
good pitcher. I remember his Cy Young year. He was a pretty good pitcher, but just didn't do it for longevity enough.
Yeah. All right. AJ Burnett. So first year on the ballot, didn't get any votes.
No. So, solid pitcher.
Yep. 2009 World Series with the Yanks, 165 wins in 17 seasons. So
tough pitcher. He faced the Phillies in 2009. We hated him.
Yeah. All right. Next up is Shane Victorino. First year on the ballot, did not get any votes.
No surprise there.
I laughed with my my wife earlier. You know his nickname?
The Flying Hawaiian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. She thought that was hilarious. She had never heard that before.
Yeah.
So I thought that's great because he was born in Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
2 times World Series with your 2008 Phillies. The other one was in 2013 with the Red Sox. 2-time All-Star, 4-time Gold Glove.
Clutch player. Came up big for us those 2 years.
Yeah.
Just not Hall of Fame.
Yep. All right. Dan Herron. He didn't get any votes at all. Looked up a little bit about him. 3-time All-Star. Pitched with 10 different teams in 13 years. 153 wins, 131 losses.
Yeah.
So,
decent pitcher.
Just not a Hall of Famer.
Not a Hall of Famer.
Speaking of these guys that aren't getting any votes, like, how do you get on this list? There's more than like 10 to 20 guys that retire every year. Like, how do these guys get on the list?
There's a committee for the Hall of Fame that will pick who gets on the ballot, and then the writers vote on the ballot. I don't think there's that many guys on the committee. I think it's literally like 6.
6 guys to say, okay, he should be on the ballot. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. All right. Next is
Michael Cadyer.
Cadyer. Thank you with his name. And he didn't get any votes either. Looked up a little bit about him. 2-time All-Star. He did win the Silver Slugger Award in 2013 because he had a 331 batting average. But that's about it.
That's about it.
Okay.
Not a Hall of Famer.
Next guy is Nick Swisher. And he played a little bit with the Yankees and was on the World Series team in 2009. And this is a 2002 Bowman Chrome card. He did have 1 All-Star game appearance. So
good player. I mean, good, and especially good in the playoffs, especially for the Yankees.
Mm-hmm.
But just it's a lot about numbers, and he just doesn't have the numbers totals.
Yep. So that is the 25th player on the ballot. So we're done with the active ballot. So I think we're going to transition into the 2021 class or 2022 class and talk about who is going to be on the new ballot. And Ray, you know a little bit more about that than I do.
Yeah, there's 5 players that stick out to me that I think all 5 have a really good, legitimate shot. The first one is Alex Rodriguez, who's going to be on his first-year ballot next year. We all know the allegations with A-Rod. He definitely is going to get 5%. I don't know where I stand with A-Rod. I think he's still on, I think MLB Network, or he's doing games with either ESPN or MLB. and I think he's trying to build his image back up again.
Absolutely.
And he's doing a pretty good job with it so far. It wasn't like he was a multiple-time starter. I think it was one time. I'm not sure. I'm not really sure, but this guy his number 696 career homers is unbelievable. So I'm not sure what's going to happen with Alex Rodriguez. The next guy, though, David Ortiz, he does have something surrounding him, but his brand, like, he's such a likable guy, and everybody just is falling in love, and he's big time in the World Series for the Red Sox and being Mr. Clutch and come up with big homers that I don't even think he's going to have to wait long. I think he actually has a really good shot at getting in his first year, because I don't think he has a really terrible reputation whatsoever. In fact, I think he has a really good reputation. I think Ortiz is probably going to get in next year on his first year ballot. Then there's a third guy that I was really shocked at the amount of homers he hit. His first year is Mark Texara, played for the Texas Rangers, and I think ended his career with the Yankees. Got over 400 homers. He's got 410 homers, which is going to keep him on. I'm not sure if he'll get on or get in, but that's enough to get 5%. He doesn't have a lot of hits. I think he's below 2,000, but 410 homers was really good. And then the last two guys are both former Phillies. Ryan Howard, who I don't think will get in. He did win an MVP. He doesn't have a lot of hits. He's below 2,000 hits. He's in the 3-something homers, I think around 360 to 380 range. He's in the high 300s. He might get the 5%, and that's probably the best that I'll see him do, but I don't think he'll get in. The last guy I absolutely believe will get in and get in pretty quickly, and that's Jimmy Rollins. I bought his rookie card about 2 years ago in a Gem Mint 10. I think it's a 98 Bowman Chrome. And this guy's numbers are comparable to Barry Larkin. In fact, I think they're in some areas they're slightly better. They both won an MVP. They both won a World Series. Rollins has, I think, more stolen bases and more homers and more RBIs, whereas Larkin might have more hits and a better average. So they're both kind of like, one has better in this stat and the other has better in that stat. But that's who they compare Jimmy Rollins to a lot, is to Barry Larkin. And if Larkin got in, I'd be shocked Jimmy Rollins doesn't get in the Hall of Fame. And I think pretty soon, like within definitely the first 5 years, I give him like 3 or 4 years maximum on the ballot before he gets in. Some of the other guys didn't really stick out to me, but those were the 5 for first year ballot next year.
Okay, so if A-Rod gets in, why doesn't Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens?
I know, that's the thing. I mean, it all depends on their interpretation, these writers' interpretation of, if the guy was forgiving and if the guy admitted it and tried to change his image. Bonds and Clemens have denied it through and through and still do to this day. So I think that's what's hurting them if they did do something. But I think, A-Rod's trying to do something with his image. And I think that writers and fans out there are forgiving. Like, if you come out and admit that you did it, and people then will move on. But then again, Mark McGwire admitted it too, and he's not even on the ballot anymore. So it all depends. Like, I don't know what really goes through the writers' minds. I don't want that job, to be honest with you, to try and vote for these players. I mean, this year's ballot was unbelievably tough. There was just so much controversy around a lot of these guys, and it's just going to continue as the next few years go on with the A-Rods and Ortiz and anybody who played in the late 90s, early 2000s that gets on this ballot. There's going to be some sort of like, well, wait a minute, they played in that era. Did they have any kind of suspicion now? So it's going to be interesting. I don't know what these guys think of, like, Bonds is not one, but A-Rod is. Like, it. I don't know what their thought process is, but we'll have to see. But those are the 5 new guys for next year. It's going to be really interesting. Like I said, especially for Jimmy Rollins, I'm rooting for him big time.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Anything else you want to add to this episode before we put her down?
Yeah, the Kurt Schilling thing.
Yeah.
You know, we wanted to touch base a little bit on Mr. Schilling and give our thoughts here. I think he's definitely a Hall of Fame pitcher without a doubt.
I agree.
He had 71.1% of the votes this year. Next year is his last year. I really thought next year he would have gotten he was 16 votes short. There was no doubt in my mind. A lot of the guys on MLB Network, like Tom Verducci and all them, they all said the same thing, that he was definitely going to get in next year. Well, at the end of the election Tuesday night, Mr. Schilling comes out with a long and lengthy letter on, I don't know, Facebook or Twitter, and asked to be removed off the ballot next year. The Hall of Fame responded quickly and said, we'll take it into consideration. Then they came back the next day and said, we're not going to do it. It's in violation, so he'll still be on next year. So now I don't know if he'll get the 16 votes, because the letter that he wrote was pretty bad towards the writers, because he has to be put on the Veterans Committee where those guys, his former peers, their opinion matters, whereas the writer's opinion doesn't matter. That right there probably just sealed it for him for next year, probably not getting in now because he just ticked off a lot of voters. So it's a shame, because I understand if you read his letter, what he's saying, that he's being labeled with guys that supposedly cheated when he never cheated. You know, he never got arrested or had any kind of allegations towards him during his playing career, was a good teammate. And he was. And all those things he's saying is true. But all these things that are coming out now are after his career, which is a shame, because they really should just be looking at his playing career, which was pretty clean. Like, the guy had nothing come out against him during his playing career. So I think that letter pretty much sealed his fate for next year, and we'll see him on the Veterans Committee. So we'll see what happens to Mr. Schilling, but it was quite the drama for something that we were just waiting for vote results, and here comes a letter from Mr. Schilling, you know, just blasting the writers. It was amazing.
Yeah. Didn't like 14 of the writers turn in a blank ballot?
Yeah, they were turned in blank ballots, which I find hard to believe. Like, you couldn't find one guy, because you don't have to vote for 10. You can vote for as many as you want, like less than 10. You can vote for 3. They couldn't find one guy on there, like even Rowland or somebody to say, you know. So I think that right there is what Schilling is talking about. Like, there was like personal issues from them towards him. There's always been an issue with he played here in Philly, so I know there was always an issue with him with the writers. But what's really interesting is that none of his former teammates or players that played against him, nobody's come out in these past few years saying anything bad about him. It's just been basically his relationship with him and the writers and the media. So we'll see what goes on with him. But I think he definitely killed it Tuesday night with that letter.
Yeah, I think
it's a shame.
Yeah, it's definitely a shame. I wrote a couple things down just about, like, I think that the baseball writers are taking like all the abuse in this, you know, while the Hall of Fame museum can just kind of sit back with their arms crossed and say, well, it's all the writers' stuff. Same thing with Major League Baseball or even the network. They can just kind of just push all that, you know, drama, blame, and politics just to the writers. So I feel bad for him, and I agree. I wouldn't want to be a writer either.
Yeah, I wish, like, they showed the rules of what they look at for voting. It's not just playing and their on-field performance; it's integrity and character. You know, I'm sometimes I wonder. I think they might just take the character thing a little too far. You should have character, but I think the character should apply basically on the field. You know, with some of the things players do off the field, you know, we know a lot of these guys' reputations in the history of the game. You can go back to Cobb and Ruth and all them. You know, there was no multimedia back then, so nobody knew exactly what they were doing back then. So I do agree that there should be some character when voting on these players, but I think they might be, I don't know, I could be wrong. They might be taking it a little too far on the character issue, but you know, it's an elite group. So, I mean, it's 1% of the less than 1% of the players in the history of the game that have played or gotten in. So I can understand the thought process of, you know, they want the best of the best in every category to get in the Hall of Fame.
Yep. And like I was looking at, I thought about Chipper Jones, to kind of stand out. In his book, he says, like, this is killing me. I've got to get it out. So let me talk about this. You know, I had having affairs with 3 different girls from Atlanta, Detroit, and LA. Mm-hmm. So, and he's, you know, he's in the Hall of Fame.
Right. That's what I mean. So it's the writers have certain opinions on, and it's all based on their relationship with the players. Like they might have, you know, the player might have threw them off one day and blew them off from an interview, and writers remember that, you know. So
it's like that. Yeah.
It's like, you know, you got to have it. It's a shame that your future is held in the hands of a guy who's writing about you. And it just shows you, though, and not just in baseball, but in life in general, is like how you treat people is really going to come back to haunt you sometimes. So we don't know how these guys' relationship was with the press. Obviously, some were better than the others, you know, like what you just showed about Chipper Jones, you know. Yeah. That's not surprising with a lot of these guys.
Yeah. He's not the only one.
He's not the only one. So a lot of these guys, like I think Schilling's kind of getting a raw deal, you know, based on his opinions on what he says. Just vote the guy in on his performance on the field, you know.
Yeah. I'm a fan of these guys on the field and how hard and well they play and their talents.
Right. Nobody's perfect. Everybody's human. Everyone makes mistakes.
They're not everybody's Brooks Robinson and Al Kaline.
Or Hank Aaron, who was a model. You know, I've been watching lots of stuff on Mr. Aaron lately, and he was a true professional person on and off the field, without a doubt. But those guys are, you know, they're rare.
Absolutely. All right. Well, that's all I've got written down for this episode. Anything else, Ray?
No, this was a lot of fun. I love this topic. The Hall of Fame is my favorite topic. So thanks for tuning in, guys. We really appreciate it. And, you know, that was Sports Card Talk episode number 17. Thanks, Mike, for joining me. It was great. A lot of fun.
A lot of fun. All right.